本节目由15W 电竞门户出品。
Hey 15W, my name is Aphromoo and I play support for Counterlogic Gaming. So, I think I learned I was competitive in nature when I was really young, and I didn't like losing. I always wanted to be the best, and it wasn't really for anything else, and that was the only reason I played video games in general. But coming into League of Legends, I wasn't really able, to join a team to start up, so I did streaming for a while, and that went really well, and it was cool and all, being at the top for streaming and stuff like that. But I felt like I was missing a part of me that I wasn't getting out of streaming, which was, playing competitively versus other people, to win. And when you're streaming, it's just mainly for fun and entertaining and, touching your supporters when you can, making their day, stuff like that. That is cool and all, but competitive is like probably my main aspect that I need in my life. So I went to join CLG, and it didn't really work out because it was weird doing the whole gaming house type of thing. So I left again to go back to streaming, and then I realized I was dumb, and I was like, okay, well, you know what, I can handle the whole esports thing, and I went back and joined CLG again. And now that I'm a pro player, it's a lot more fulfilling, I would say, that I'm getting my competitive satisfaction in playing in the LCS. I think in America, it's really hard, or not really hard. People suck at doing, talent scouting and stuff like that, and most teams or orgs will pull from other regions instead of, looking at your own region. And I think it's easier to go the streaming route in America rather than going professional, because there isn't really a lot of environments where you can, grow your players, pick up this young guy and then help see them grow, since most big orgs, TSM, CLG, C9 now, they're the only teams that, bring in new players and, grow them. There isn't a lot of space, so the rest of the players, they don't really have a chance, I would say, and they're usually stuck in challenger scene and have to promote with, their group of guys. And just doing streaming is probably a lot less stressful. Well, there isn't a lot of money yet in the League of Legends professional scene. Just recently, we're getting big BC backings and orgs and stuff like that coming in. It's LCS, but before then, it was just basically your startup organizations and stuff like that. So I would say it's pretty smart to go the streaming route, since it's a lot easier to maintain and do rather than doing professional League of Legends, since most people, you got to play 14 hours a day. You don't really get to do much excuse me, other than that during the season, since you're always playing and you got to practice just as hard as everyone else that's practicing every day. And you get tired of that after a while, and most people, from the outside looking in, just see you playing the game, so much that you don't really get to do much else. So streaming, I would say, for a 14-year-old kid in China is pretty good. I just think that it just depends on what the circumstances are when you want to go pro and stuff like that, who you want to play for, if you do like the org or whatnot, if they're reputable, you can call it a home if you do go play for them. And usually it's about your teammates as well, I would say. That's the main factor of who you're going to play with. Do they actually care about you coming in, or are you just, the big guns that's coming in, basically. So I think there's a lot of reputation in China for most players on getting this guy, he's really good, let's get him to our team and stuff like that. And I haven't heard of a lot of new players in China yet. So I think it's just the type of culture that organizations want to put for their teams. So let's say TSM, pretty professional. As you say, EDG and Snake, really professional. And I think us and C9 are more like the family type of environment, where it's really all about the people here, and we have a sort of atmosphere that will make it warm. I would say dealing with criticism and then not doing well, there's not much you can do about what people say. They can say whatever they want anytime. Like, it could be you're great, it could be you suck, they can be in the middle, right? So the best thing you can do is it's all in your own head, and your confidence level will vary. Those type of comments, if you're feeling, depressed or down about your play, it's just about how you feel that you did and how your team feels that you did. And mainly, to get over that type of stuff, you go towards your teammates, your coach, and basically when you all talk about, what happened, how do we lose, what we need to improve on here and there. As long as we're getting something out of that and having that type of confrontation with your teammates, all that matters is what your teammates think of you and how you think your team did. Everything else is cool and all, when you get positive comments and stuff like that, we appreciate that. And it's also cool to get criticism as well, since that means, people care. Well, if you have a superstar on your team,
Yes.
usually you build the team around him and play around him and stuff like that, but obviously the superstar knows he's good, so any team, he's really good. And if you want to be successful, it's all about buying into team mentality and making sure you confront properly on how to do things, why we do things. And it's very important that all of your players understand that, and that not everyone is going to be, a superstar. So some people have to, do the other, what is it called? The other intangible stuff that you don't see. So let's say you're playing support, you're playing jungle, you're supporting this guy, and even though, he's a superstar and almost everyone sees all the flashy plays that he does, in the background, it's like, okay, it's the whole team working together and making, let's say, this guy look really good because he's capable of, carrying the team, and they let him take control. I think me personally handling emotions, I've never yelled at my teammate once. I don't think I ever will. And it's really important, since being the shot caller and stuff like that, that you have a calm demeanor and not, being overly aggressive towards a teammate, because they can take it wrong. So for me, it's really important how I talk to my teammates, how I say something, whether it be tone of voice, understand, their perspective and what happened and how they feel. Usually that's what I'll think about in my head before I talk to my teammate if I have a problem. And it's important that you don't talk to everyone the same, since some players are different personality types. So let's say you have your aggressive superstar personality type who's blunt. I'm going to be direct with him in the same tone of voice that he is with me, where it's really stern, and that I'm not, so he knows, I'm not going to put up with the shit. If it's a more passive player who, takes it to heart if he messes up and doesn't really like to talk about it, I'll be more gentle. I don't think it's different on how, when you say the Korean coach just brings the team together and then the players make the strategy. I think there's different ways of coaching. Sometimes you have a coach who's really smart and can help you with strategy and how to run it and stuff like that. You see that in other sports a lot, and especially the Army and stuff like that. Your general has the strategy, or his commanding officer, stuff like that, has the strategy, and then everyone else runs that strategy. I think that having someone that is in charge, or not in charge, leads that sort of discussion is important to have, so that everyone can contribute into the pool instead of having 5 different ideas. Eventually you got to decide on one, so who's going to make that decision? And I think that is what is missing a lot for LCS in general, just having someone that can make those decisions and stuff like that. So let's say TSM, for example, Doublelift is their shot caller and makes those decisions on TSM, and they did really well. So now that TSM has that sort of player that can do that, it's shown that it's really easy for them to dominate. We're going up against XAT.
Yes.
And obviously before the match, it's holy shit. Finally, we get to play a really good Korean team. And I think when we win in the game, that didn't matter anymore because of how far we got in the spring split and up to where we reached. It actually doesn't matter that, you know, we're playing against SKT. Like, as long as you give it your all and don't let up. So I think that game that we played, I was Jana, like, we had to make decisions over and over and over, and Korean teams put you in decision-making positions every 30 seconds or less in the game. Like, you have to make a decision. If you don't, you're gonna get run over. Okay, it's important to know that your teammates are willing enough to let you be creative with your champion picks on what you think is the best to win the game. So, for me, playing Soraka, absolutely broken. Like, if you have a team that just plays around her, you're not gonna die, but the enemy team is going to focus you 100%. So essentially it's me running away versus 5 people while healing my team, and all I need is peeling. So making a comp like that is really easy to execute for us, and we practiced that a lot, and it was really potent going into the tournament. And then as for Sona, playing against the Flash Wolves with Sona, they ran po-comp and they banned out Soraka Bard, and from the support role, usually I'm the one with initiation, so I couldn't play Nami. I was gonna, but I couldn't, because we needed initiation. So wave is too slow. So we needed Sona, who has sustain, really good sustain with her new buffs, and then flash Sona ulti for initiation. I think the crowd is definitely just as passionate as any region. It's just that there hasn't really been a team to cheer for, especially internationally, so it's hard to get behind a team because, you know, we're always failing in international competition. So you can only really cheer for your region regionally, which is like in America. So it's hard for most people to cheer for a team that, you know, everyone thinks NA is always going to lose. So it's not as, you know, supportive, I would say, but you can like your players and stuff like that, so it doesn't really matter as much. But when I go to Korea or went to China, it was ridiculous how much support like teams have out there, because they always have, you know, their little chants or their fan groups that bring big signs and stuff like that, and or gifts to the players for after their game. Like, holy crap, I was pretty jealous, you know, when I went over there and that happened. And I thought it was pretty amazing. So like, one of my experiences was like a couple girls gave us gifts after like one of our MSI games. They're like huge stuffed animals, big basket. I'm like, holy shit. I was like, I've never gotten anything to this magnitude before. Uzi and Wuxing, but I think when Wuxing was on the team, Mata played a lot more roaming. But when Uzi's on the team, you have to play a lot more laning, so Mata would pick more laning type of champions instead of Mata roaming. So in MSI, Mata was everywhere, so he could start a lot of fights. But at Worlds, it was mostly 2v2, so I think Mata and Uzi showed their dominance in 2v2 at Worlds, like a lot. Like, they killed everybody in lane. So I think as of the game right now, you can win lane, but the only way you're going to win games is if you're moving around the map a lot instead of, you know, just focusing on lane. So I think they got that style a little off for Worlds, just like us, we focus on lane as well. Alright guys, thank you for the interview. It was a pleasure, and I really enjoy China and foreign countries in general playing for you guys, and I enjoyed my experience at MSI a lot, and I appreciate you guys being fans of us. Means a lot, so have a great day.